welcome to One World's Education Agenda. Our education agenda item this evening is a profile of ConnCAT. ConnCAT is the Center for Connecticut Arts and Education Technology. The people are here this evening to tell you about this wonderful space located in Science Park in New Haven. And ConnCAT is doing something that needs to be done in New Haven. They've provided this wonderful aesthetic space, and they're identifying and helping both adults and young people to find a new pathway, a positive pathway. And to tell us more about that, I have some representatives here, including Genevieve Walker, who is the Director of Programs for ConnCAT, and a teacher, two teachers, and two former students. Welcome to all of you.
Thank you.
I am glad you're here. I am delighted. I like aesthetically beautiful places, and ConnCAT is such a place. Genevieve, tell us a little about ConnCAT.
Well, ConnCAT was actually, it's birthed out of the idea from Bill Strickland, and he has the Manchester Bidwell's Guild in Pittsburgh. And a biggest part of the philosophy is that environment helps to shape people's lives. So it is aesthetically pleasing. It's a great place to go daily. It's gorgeous.
Yes, and we should say that ConnCAT started in 2012. The center opened in 2012, and again, it is called the Connecticut Center for Art and Technology, and it opened its first center in 2012 based upon this dream and this vision that Bill Strickland has, or had. And there are three people who are sort of at the root and foundation of ConnCAT, and they are Bill Strickland, Mr. Carlton Highsmith, and Eric Clemens, who many of us in New Haven know was the executive director for LEAP, which is another youth organization. And on the screen, you will see a picture of these three gentlemen, and you'll also see a picture of Mr. Strickland, who is, as I said, one of those dreamers who made his dream become a reality right here in New Haven. The organization, or ConnCAT, offers some very specific types of training and programs, and I would like you, Gigi, to tell us a little about first the medical coding and the phlebotomy program, and why those two programs.
So what we do is offer programming for adults that are either unemployed or underemployed, and is a part of the feasibility study and partnering with Yale University and Yale New Haven Hospital, it really identifying what was a market relevant job that people needed to develop skills in and could be employed in a very short turnaround time. Medical coding and phlebotomy were identified as fields, and so far we've had some great deal of success in those fields.
And so let's talk about medical coding, for example, because that's something that, although it's very difficult and it's very complicated, but it doesn't take a lot of time. You don't have to have a 4-year college degree, but you have to be very focused and in doing this. How many programs do you offer annually?
In medical coding, because it's a 30-week commitment, we offer one program really for the duration of the year. Students also then do an 8-week externship, so we have one cohort in medical coding in a calendar year.
Oh, because it's 30 weeks plus the 8 weeks.
Correct.
Okay. Now, how many people go through the program at that time? About how many people do you have?
We have a capacity for 17 students, so we have an intense invitation and vetting process. So we get about 17 students that are committed to the 30 weeks and will go through it to the end.
And they get jobs afterwards?
They do. Coding is, as you said, it is a challenging position, and what we have found is that a lot of students come to find that coding, one of the entryways into coding is billing. So we have students that have graduated and they're waiting to take their national exams, because we do prepare students to get their national certification. They get jobs in coding, they get jobs in billing, they get jobs as medical receptionists, and it's a gateway into working in coding.
So it has a national exam. So it's not that once they're trained, they don't have to stay in New Haven, although we want them to, but they can go elsewhere and get jobs.
Absolutely.
So this is really a basic foundational piece of education and skill.
That's right.
And skill.
And it's a stackable skill. So this is something where you don't have to stop there. I mean, that's really fundamentally what we're about also, is that people can change their lives. This isn't the ceiling. They can continue.
Now, Danielle, you are a medical coding person.
Yes.
So tell me about, why did you choose that?
I chose to be in medical coding because, well, I actually did a career change, and I found that it was something that I really wanted to do because I like to dig deep into patients' charts and, you know, analyze.
And you can focus,
and
right?
I really, yes, can focus.
You can focus.
Yes.
We're going to come back and talk a little more about that, but I want to ask the phlebotomy teacher. Tell us your name and what it is that you do at ConnCAT.
My name is Shakria Miller Hassan, and I am the lead phlebotomy technician instructor.
You're the lead phlebotomy technician instructor, but you were a phlebotomist yourself for many years.
Yes, I was a phlebotomist for 32 years, and I've been teaching for the last 4 years.
And when your students come to you, what do you find is the most common thing about them? You know, what they share in common, why they come to learn this new skill?
Well, what we find, especially in our interviewing, is that there are many, many people that want to be in the medical field. And phlebotomy is one of the courses and career paths that is on the lower end of the medical field, but very, very, very important to the medical field, in the medical field. So most people think it's very easy, and that's a start. So it's a stepping stone. It is a start to come into a phlebotomy course, to take that program.
And how many students are in your class?
17.
Oh, 17. How
Yes.
many sessions do you offer per year at ConnCAT?
We offer 2.5. It goes because my program is 4 months in class and 1 month externship, and by the time we do 8 months, then it carries on that third cohort that's coming in that particular year usually carries on through the following year.
Okay, so it essentially each session, each complete training session is 5 months.
Yes.
And so you have 2 5-month sessions, and then when do you take a break?
I do.
Well, you know, you talk about it being a gateway. I think Nicole is a perfect example of someone who is entering into a gateway because she wants to be a nurse
That's
one
right.
day. So, Nicole, tell us, how did you find ConnCAT? How did you find out about them? And why are you doing phlebotomy training, or why have you done phlebotomy training?
I found ConnCAT at a point in time where I was going, like Danielle, through a career change, and I was looking for something that I have a very high interest in science, so something that fed into that science background and that science interest, but kind of got me in the door to make sure that nursing was where I wanted to go. And a friend of mine sent me an email about ConnCAT, and I had the privilege of being able to go for the interview and made it through that process, and found that the phlebotomy program was not only challenging but very nurturing, and teaching us how to be able to stick and care for our patients, and it was a good stepping stone into nursing.
And really give you a sense of whether science, this kind of thing, is what you want to pursue. Because as your teacher said, it is the entry level, but it's stackable.
Correct.
You can go from phlebotomy to nursing, or to, and if you learn medical coding, it's all, you know, you can build it up.
It's like the first step in patient care, kind of getting you used to having that one-on-one contact with the patients.
Now, you said that, you know, your students are people who might be looking for a career change. How many of your students are directly, do you have any students who are directly from high school?
Yes.
You have some directly from high school.
Yes, we do.
And then you have people like Danielle and Nicole who have gotten out of school and started their lives and decide to make a change.
Yes.
So, Gigi, this seems as if ConnCAT is really answering to a need that exists. Because very often, you know, once you pass 22, you know, places are starting to think, well, why are you just doing this? But this is something that accommodates you whether you're 22 or 32 or 42.
Yes.
Absolutely. And then we have students that are graduating from high school and quite frankly aren't prepared to go to a four-year institution either because of their funds or they haven't really established what it is that they want to do with their lives. This gives them an opportunity to really get their feet into something that they might be interested in and really pursue it. And then the externship also gives them that opportunity to feel what the work environment is like as well. So we really try to touch all bases in terms of preparing them.
So these are for the adults. Yes, go ahead.
And the diversity of the classroom kind of allows those people that are more mature to kind of guide those that are may just be coming out of high school. So we learn from the younger and the younger learn from us. So it kind of works both ways.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. You sort of have a built-in mentor there that help you to navigate the challenging piece. Because many of our high school kids who have not done anything as challenging as focusing on medical coding might might want to run away, but if you are there to help them
guide them.
Yes, that's helpful. Now, Henry, you are the spoken word instructor. So this is another thing. Now, this is for these are for high school kids.
High school and middle school.
High school and middle school. So ConnCAT offers 2 job preparation programs, phlebotomy and medical coding, and then on the education piece, before we get to work, we have Henry, and is there someone else there? You also have a media piece.
We do. We have digital media where we do photography, digital photography, Photoshop. They work in it. We have a Mac lab where kids work, and kids love computers, and they get it like that. So yeah.
So Henry, tell me why the spoken word training? Tell me.
Well, spoken word, which is a mix between hip hop and poetry, it's the language of the youth, and frankly, a lot of kids in New Haven public schools who are having problems with literacy won't write or read what they're feeling or what they're thinking. But spoken word, which is to them just sounds like rap. It sounds like what they like. It sounds like Lil Wayne. It sounds like Kendrick Lamar. It sounds like Drake. And that translates to their language. And kids leave from my class ready to read and write and excited because they think that they're rapping when they're actually learning.
So is there any kind of critical thinking piece in there, and kind of analytical piece? What is a session like in your classroom with young people?
A session in my classroom, I usually take materials from what they already know and what they're already interested in. I even remember taking a song by a popular artist. You see, I take a song from, say, Drake or Kendrick Lamar, and I'd lay it out for them because these kids will play it over and over. You see the iPad, the iPhone, earphones in their ear, and I'll tell them, what does this mean? What metaphors is he using? What similes is he using? What is he saying about his surroundings? What imagery is he using? And they'll lay it out because it's their favorite song.
Do they know the meaning of the word simile or
yes,
metaphor?
What they do is in my class, I begin to explain that. No one wants to, frankly, and especially in public schools, no one wants to think about similes if it's written by a poet that they've never heard of. But if I can explain to them that similes are one of the punchlines that Lil Wayne says in his raps, then they say, hey, I want to rap like Lil Wayne. What's a simile? Show me how to make a simile so, I can rap like Lil Wayne. And I do. And that's how they learn.
Do children come to your class with, we have a lot of issues in New Haven. A lot of our young people sometimes get hurt, they get into bad situations. Do they come in to you and say, such a thing happened over the weekend, or I had a problem with my friend, or whatever the case might be? How would I express that? Do they ever come and ask for your help in expressing?
They absolutely do. If there's one thing I can say kids love more than hip hop and music, is someone to connect to them and someone to tell those problems to. And even the kids who won't speak necessarily about those problems, they'll shut down. And they'll leave a notebook for me where they write their poems and their journals. And they'll say, "Can you read this, Mr. Renegade?" That's what they call me. Or, "Can you read this, Mr. Can you read this, Mr. Henry?"
Yeah.
And I'll open and I'll read it, and it's about all the problems and thoughts that usually a parent can never get out of their child. But since they think they're rapping, everything comes out.
So how do you help them to resolve conflicts, and not only in the spoken word, but when they, how do you use the time with them in your classroom to get them to think about responsible action, you know, when they face challenges? What do you say to them? What do you do? How do you use the time in the classroom to help them to go home feeling more empowered and sort of more sure of themselves?
And that's a great question. The first thing that I do through spoken word is I teach them to express their initial passionate feelings inside of it. The second thing that I do, understanding that music influences kids the most, is I take their initial interest in music and I lead them towards more positive music with a strong message about how to take issues and problems in your community and turn them around. So instead of preaching at them, you know what I'm saying, waving a finger, I'll play a song that sounds like it's in a way that you know, it translates in their language. They'll listen to it, they'll analyze it, and they'll go home with that message. And they'll preach it in the same way that they preach messages that they would otherwise be preaching, such as messages that are negative on the radio, that are violent. And now these kids leave without me having to preach at them, and they've been changed, genuinely changed.
JJ, when you hear this, as the program director, and you know, ConnCAT has a mission and it has a vision. How does what you're hearing, especially about these young people, and you know, let's be real, whether we don't have the time or maybe the skill to even dissect what happens to our children, you know, we have some very complicated neighborhoods and very complicated situation that our young people, 12, you know, 13 years old, are dealing with. How does what you're hearing fits into the mission and objectives of ConnCAT?
So our mission is to motivate and inspire. You cannot motivate and inspire people that you don't care about and love. When we bring on staff, that's a criteria. So can you do what you say you can do, but do you care about the people? And anyone that's interviewed with me knows for sure that's the main criteria. Do you love the people that we plan on serving? That's why we're able to reach that mission. That's why people stay. That's why they continue to come, because there's a sense that someone cares about my future. They're offering me an alternative.
And I must say about you, you were a classroom teacher. You were a 5th grade teacher in both New Haven and Hamden.
Yes.
And how is your job at ConnCAT different from teaching in the classroom?
So part of my job, well, when I was a classroom teacher, what I found is that I enjoyed relationships with kids. I enjoyed them being their authentic selves. My work at ConnCAT really allows me to create spaces for people to be their authentic selves. It's not the prescriptive classroom, sitting down and writing with a pencil. I'll always say to the staff that comes in to teach both youth and adults, how do people now, young people or adults, now say, this is something that I couldn't do yesterday that I can do today? So my teaching experience lends, it's similar in that way, that we're creating opportunities for people to discover something new about themselves. That's what I enjoyed most about being in the classroom. But how we do it at ConnCAT is what differs.
Now, yes, because in fact, when I looked on your youth program guidelines, it says, students, one of the things that ConnCAT looks for, after school arts program targeted at urban youth, student population, identified as being at risk of dropping out. So you're talking about engaging, he's talking about engaging, connecting with kids, helping them to solve problems. In phlebotomy, you're doing the same thing. You're helping young people to find a foothold, an economic foothold, where they can have security,
right?
Economic security and skill.
Exactly right. And it's not just the youth, that the younger student that I may have in the class, it could be someone that's middle-aged, that is coming in with same issues. You know, they come in with issues, and we are there to help them through it all.
Well, I am pleased to know that when they come in with issues, there's a place that they not only develop job skills and get, because Nicole told me after her training, she got a job at Yale. After, and so one of the things your summer program listing says, it's an experiment with diverse creative media, including photography, digital media, music production, spoken word, dance and drama. Explore the key happenings and themes of the Harlem Renaissance when you take trips, right? We're going to talk a little bit about that. And then, you know, for the more older students, they practice skills that test their own ideas. And I'm sure that Danielle, when Danielle said she wanted to make a change, you're looking for a place where you can develop skills. So young people learn and practice skills, and you develop job skills, and you develop job skills, and you get a job. And it must make you feel so much more secure in your life, doesn't it?
It does. It does, yes.
And I should try to pronounce your name. Shukriya.
Yes.
Well done.
Tell me something. When these, you have males in your class too?
Yes, we do.
Okay. When your students come to you, and they're more mature than the ones coming from high school, and I'm sure somewhere along the line, one or two students feel a little discouraged, or, you know, because it's challenging, especially medical coding is very challenging. What do you do to help them to get over that and stay with the program?
I give them more challenges.
You give them more challenges?
I give them more challenges because in both of the fields, the students are coming in, the majority of the students are coming in with absolutely no idea what they have signed up for.
No, I see.
And,
we try.
Yes. So when they get into the class, I think some come in with the idea it's not going to be that hard. And some come in, and when they hear me, you know, speak to them about the class, even in the interview, you know, you can almost hear them go, you know.
Yes.
It's just more challenges, and to allow them to keep jumping over that hurdle, you know, that you can do this. You know, and just keep pushing them.
Okay, in the limited time we have left, I want each of you to tell me something. I'm going to ask each of you a question. Nicole, you said you made a change in your life. You have a child.
I do.
You were a teacher
Yes.
yourself, but you wanted to be able to spend more time with your child and to have a skill that give you more choices, more latitude.
Yes.
Okay. What have you gotten from, apart from the fact you got a job, which is really neat, what else have you gotten as a person, as a parent, and as a black woman in this society who face more challenges than many non-black women face? What have you gotten out of this? Why you would invite other young women to follow your pathway? So before that's your question.
Okay.
But I wanted to know from you, what, as a teacher, you were a phlebotomist for 32 years.
Yes.
Now you've been teaching for the last 4 years. And you're teaching a very diverse population. You're teaching a population of people who are often challenged. What do you get from this, apart from a job? What do you get from this when you leave ConnCAT at the end of your session? What's good for you?
It's a hallelujah, amen for me, because when they come in, it's ground zero for them. Even when they're nurses and they've come in and they have their LPN, they don't know phlebotomy.
Yes.
And
So
when they've had a little bit, they haven't had what I'm giving them and what ConnCAT offers them. So the end result, 'cause I'm the type of person that sees the end result. Not so much as what's going on in the class now, but the end result for me is so awesome, because you came into my class not knowing anything. You're all frustrated because you see all this work and I don't know if I can do this, and then you're in the laboratory, you're drawing blood. and then you graduate, and then you go on to externship, and so on and so forth.
And but I must say to people watching, an externship here means an internship.
Right.
But ConnCAT refers to it as externship because it's after the program.
Right.
Okay. We have. Okay. So each of you have just about 45 seconds to tell me. So Danielle, what has this done for you? How has this helped to change your life in a positive way?
Well, it changed my life in a positive way by making me more focused on my life, my future, and being able to provide for my boys, my kids.
It helps you to be able to, it enables you to provide. So it gives you
provides
economic security.
Security, yes.
Well, Danielle got a job too.
I do. I actually work in billing. Yes,
Oh,
yes.
so
I took my coding skills because that's what you need. You need coding to do the billing part, and I work in
Fantastic.
billing. Yes.
Fantastic.
I did my externship at Yale Hospital also, and I work in.
What's the percentage of people who get jobs after they finish your programs?
So it varies between the two programs. So we have
Yeah.
medical coding and phlebotomy,
Yes.
but 70 to 80% of the students get jobs in a related field.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
2 months after.
What do you get from this, Henry? How do you feel when you see a young man or a young woman who came in rather concerned, disconcerted about issues, and then they go, how long is your program?
Last
The whole
all
school
year.
Oh, the entire school year. When the year is over and they have stayed through the entire year, what does that do for you?
I learned never to give up on these kids. So many people have given up on them, but if you do not give up on them, then they can make it. If you don't give up on them, then they won't give up on themselves. Every kid is worth all the effort. All the effort. They always come through.
So it really must make you feel great.
Yes. Yeah.
Nicole, so that's my question. You remember my question?
Yes.
Okay,
And
so what's your
so-
answer?
I think that ConnCAT provides the nurturing environment that has allowed me to not only gain financial security, but also kind of reinstilled my confidence in myself to be able to go out and do the job that I do every day. If I hadn't learned the skills that I learned, but not only the skills, but the nurturing and the kind of guidance that I gained at ConnCAT, I would never be able to have my job at Yale New Haven Hospital. So it's the skills and the guidance that got me where I am.
Fantastic. And it helps you to set such a positive example for your little girl.
Correct.
To know that she can become, like you. It's never too late to find economic security if you just put your mind to it. You have the last word, lady.
So I'll say this about ConnCAT and my experience there. It is a phenomenal opportunity for people to take a look at where they are right now and see themselves someplace else, someplace better, someplace stronger. And the entire staff, from Mr. Clemens to the security and all the administrative staff in between, everyone has bought in 100%. It's a
That's
great place.
fantastic. And I want to say to people, if you haven't been to see this phenomenal facility, it's at Four Science Park in New Haven. It is a beautiful place. Eric Clemens and his staff do a phenomenal job of making the place pleasing and aesthetically welcoming. And we encourage you to go and check out this ConnCAT. I'm glad you joined us for this Education Agenda program. Join us again for another Education Agenda. Good night, everyone.